exciting stuff. Yeah, so we work with, we work for elementary school wrestlers right through the Olympic team. We were getting the women ready for Rio this past year. We worked with them pretty much every week leading up to the Olympics. We work with Rutgers, just a ton of teams. It's really a lot, but it's crazy because what we see, those red flags we handed out, is that the elementary school wrestlers, the middle school wrestlers, high school, college, and the Olympics, we all struggle with the same kind of things. Even the highest level wrestlers struggle with the same kind of things you struggle with. We just see it at all these different levels, so it's a matter of really fixing the problem. So now I do a lot of talking, and I talk fast, and everything I say is important, so listen up. Okay? sounds funny, but we only have a small amount of time, relatively, to cover everything. So I really want you to try to take everything in. So I have to make certain assumptions whenever I speak to a group. I assume that you guys are trying to be great. I have to assume that. I go into a group of people. I assume that the wrestlers, the parents, everyone's trying to be great, not just good, not just average. I don't really give messages to teach average people. This is people who really want to achieve the best. I don't care where you're at right now. I don't care where your record was. The only thing that really makes a difference is that you really want to be great. You want to be great at wrestling. You want to be great at school. You want to be great in life. That's who the message is for. And that's what I studied my whole life. I have 2 master's degrees. One's in sports psychology and exercise science. The other one's in clinical psychology. I used to be a school psychologist. I left that full time to do wrestling mindset full time. My brother and I started this. And since then, it's been an unbelievable journey. So we worked with Rutgers over the past year. And it's crazy. So Rutgers, we know, joined the Big Ten, right? So that's a big deal. That's the highest, college wrestling division in the country. You guys watch college football? Any of you?
The highest level in the world of folk style.
Of folk style, right. You guys watch college football, some of you? Yeah. Have any Notre Dame fans in here?
Notre Dame.
No? All right. Well, I'm a proud Notre Dame fan. In any event, Rutgers joining the Big Ten in wrestling would be like Rutgers joining the SEC in college football, right? And I'm sure a lot of parents know this, that when we saw Rutgers joining the Big Ten, we thought it was going to be a big joke. Rutgers is going to be the laughing stock of the Big Ten. Well, nobody's laughing right now. They had the best season in their program history, more within the past 2 years. They had 2 All-Americans, just unbelievable. Ashnall, Parati, they did an unbelievable job. They qualified all 10 of their wrestlers for the NCAA tournament. All 10. Their whole team, their whole starting lineup went to the NCAAs. You know how many teams in the country did that? 3. Rutgers was one of them. And the reason why they're successful is, again, because, well, there's a lot of things. They're hard workers, they're training very hard, and they're training very smart. They're working on that mindset also. So if we want to be successful, we have to work very hard and very smart. The women's Olympic team, Helen Maroulis, Olympic champ, right? That was awesome. They said that was the greatest day in women's American wrestling history. And we're happy to be a part of that. Last year, they took 3rd in the world for women. We're working with them pretty much every week leading up to the World Championships. We give a talk, Adeline Gray, several-time world champ. She tweets our messages out right after our talks, and they took 3rd, so it's unbelievable. 2 world champions last year, Olympic champ this year. Bergen Catholic, we've been working very closely with them over the past 3 years. We know how good they are. Anytime we see Nick Suriano at a tournament, he's always pointing to his mind. He sees us, he points to his head. Every time we're at a tournament with him, and it's again, the kid's tough. He's living at a higher level. He's operating at a much higher level, physically and mentally, than even the people around him. That makes him great. Work with several of their state champs. Work with about probably 1/4 of the team individually, and we work with the team twice a month. We give twice a month talks to the team. Work with 1/4 of the individuals. Guys like Kevin Mulligan, Joe Grello, 2-time state champs. Great story about Joe Grello. Great kid, hard worker on and off the wrestling mat. So his dad contacted us right after his sophomore year. I don't know if he took him to state, maybe 4th, maybe 6th. And he said to us, my son's got a lot of pressure on him. He feels like, he's not enjoying wrestling. He's not having fun. He's getting too nervous. And this isn't just Joe. We're not picking on Joe. This was me. This is probably a lot of you in this room. This is just about everyone. So this is really more of a lesson for everyone. And the dad said he's really not enjoying wrestling right now. So we said, okay, you should jump on our program. You should do wrestling mindset. And we started doing it. Leading up until he started in September. So it was like right around now, before the season. Unbelievable success story, I love telling you. Before the state semifinals, he's smiling. You see him in the corner with his coach, with Coach Bell. They're smiling, he's laughing. And here's a kid who said in September that he's not enjoying wrestling. He's stressed out, all the pressure that's on him. And now here he is in the biggest match of his life. Before the biggest match of his life, and he's smiling and he's laughing. Me, I'm watching this from the stands. I'm a happy man. Whether or not he wins, he's relaxed. He's enjoying the sport of wrestling again. And what happens? The icing on the cake. Wins that match, pulls off one of the biggest upsets in the state tournament when he beat Uvalde. Right? So that was his junior year, and then last year he repeated as a state champion. But it's those kind of stories like that that are just unbelievable. It's amazing. You know, another great one, St. Cloud State. I don't know if you heard them. They're a Division II team. Okay, we started working with them 3 years ago. We speak at the National Wrestling. You know,
They won it, right?
yeah, twice.
Yeah.
So we speak at the National Wrestling Coaches Convention every year for the past 5 years. That's in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. It's at the end of July, early August. And we met the coach there. He said, yeah, we have a real serious Division II team, St. Cloud State. You know, you guys should come in and work with us. We're like, yeah, definitely. So the first year, I think they took like 5th or 3rd. But it's a process. It takes time. And that's what we're trying to build in here, a cultural change. A lot of, young guys and people who have aspirations to wrestle at higher levels. So it takes time.
I was just going to say,
Yeah, go ahead.
You reminded me of what I was going to say too when I was going to introduce you. You know, this is something, just like you go to practice every day, this is something you have to work on every day. It's not something that you hear once from Gene and you're going to get it overnight. This is something you have to work on every day.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to get into that, but yes, that's exactly right. But no, it's right on. And you can't talk about that enough. It's an ongoing process. It's mindset training. Yeah, so I'll hit on that. So St. Cloud State, they went out, they won the NCAAs the second year. The second year we were working with them. The third year, they won it again. They repeated as champs. They went in as underdogs. The 125-pounder, another great story. He was a freshman, unseeded. Now, in order to make the NCAAs, he had to beat the defending NCAA champ in his room. So Tim Prescott, who won the NCAAs for St. Cloud State the year before, who's, again, awesome, unbelievable. He's talked many times about how much wrestling mindset helped him. His testimonial's up on our website and everything. But the freshman had to beat him to make the NCAAs. The freshman beats him, then goes out unseeded in the NCAA tournament, wins the whole thing. What happens after you win the NCAAs? Public speaking interview. Now all of a sudden you're in front of thousands of people and they put the microphone right in your face. How did you feel out there? And if you could believe it, the first thing he talked about is, how did you do this being a freshman and being unseeded? And he goes, our team does a lot of mindset training and I don't focus on the media and being the seeds and being a freshman. So think about this again, the biggest moment in this kid's life. He wasn't thinking about his technique. He wasn't thinking about his strength training. He was thinking about his mind. He was thinking about that mind. So it's just over and over. You could think of different examples like this. But again, it's really fixing the main problem. We say the sport's like 90% mental. I ask every group, what percent of wrestling is mental? And people say, well, 50%, 60, 90, maybe more. Now think about this. What percentage of time do you spend training physically and mentally? If you have to break it down. Somebody else does. Almost all physical, right?
All physical.
All right, so you could see, I wasn't in your shoes not long ago. I was in your shoes not too long ago. I stopped competing, I guess 2007 is a little bit of a while ago now. But nonetheless, I remember sitting in your spots right now and just saying, man, I want to be a state champ. And then in college, I want to be a national champ. I know what it's like being there. And if you guys are like me, almost all my training was physical. Like 95% physical training. What did I do mentally? Well, I wrote down my goals. Every now and then I would visualize. It wasn't anything regular. Basically no mindset training. And then I always wondered, if you look at those red flags, why was I wrestling so much better in practice in my club than in matches? I could beat a guy by 10, 15 points in the practice room, and then in a match, how come I'm only beating him by 1 or 2 points? Right? Maybe some of you know what I'm talking about there. But if we're saying the sport's 90% mental, and we're training 90% physical, you guys know what a pizza pie, think about a pizza pie. 90% of the pizza pie, how much of that you're eating, all right? Now, 90% physical, you're training 90% physical, and you're saying the sport's 90% mental. Do you see how that's a problem? Those numbers don't jive? So that's what we do, we fix that. We work on bridging that gap between the physical and the mental. And that's why if we're trying to achieve great things, like we said, you have to do two things. You have to train very hard, and you have to train very smart. It's got to be both. You can't, it's not either or. It's not train very hard or train very smart. It's not either or. It's both and. You got to do both. Because even if you're working very hard right now, there's other people who are working very hard. You're going to hit people who are just as talented as you, more talented than you, working harder, working smarter. So everything we do, we have to operate at a high level. Training very hard, training very smart. Same thing with school. Same thing. Everything we talk about with mindset for wrestling, you better be applying to school in your entire life. So we have to work very hard in school. You got to study your butts off. You got to put in your time, do your reading, and do all your homework and everything the teacher says. But you also have to think about how you need to study. Studying smart. Some people are more visual learners. Seeing things, looking at graphs. Some people are more auditory learners, listening. Some people have to do more note taking. Everyone's going to be a little bit different. This is near and dear to my heart because I was a school psychologist before doing all this. So it's both. Wrestling, school, and life. You have to work very hard and you have to work very smart. It's got to be both. So let's start that today. That's my hope for all of you, is that today starts a different way of looking at the sport of wrestling and life in general. So getting to work with that. So I'm going to show you a couple drills of wrestling. We're going to get up, we're going to move around, and we'll bring it in, we'll talk a little bit. But like I said, everything we do, there's got to be a purpose for why we do it. We don't just do things just to do it. There's no time to waste. We live in a very competitive society, and if we want to maximize, we want to be great, we have to do things at a higher level than everyone else. Most of your friends, and I'm not saying this to put them down, but most people in life are going to be average. That's just how it is. Most people aren't going to be on the wall, okay? Most people aren't going to be, going to the top schools or the best jobs. Why? Because most people just want to be average. They want to fit in with everyone else. So you have to look differently than your friends. You have to look differently than your teammates. You have to look differently than your clubmates. Even if it makes you a little bit weird, even if people laugh at you, you look kind of funny. If you want to be on the wall, you got to do things different than other people. So everything we do has to have a purpose. So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to circle around. Let's circle around. We're going to get our stretching in. Come on. Circle around.